ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها فإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة. Islam, we welcome you to another section of our class on the book Talkhisu Sifati Salatin Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam من التكبير إلى التسليم كأنك تراها of الشيخ المحدث الفقيه محمد ناصر الدين Ibn Nuh al-Albani. We ask Allah Ta'ala to have mercy upon him and also to reward him abundantly for this great effort. Today is the night of Friday, which is the 10th of Rajab, 1446 years after the migration of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Mecca to Medina, which coincide with the 9th of January 2025 according to the Gregorian calendar. In our last class, according to my own copy, we stopped at page number 12. Today, inshallah, we're also going to continue from the same page, but under a new topic, where the author, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him, said, Tahrimus salati ila al-qubur. The prohibition of praying towards the grave. The prohibition of praying where? Towards the grave. But under this portion, the author is going to expose us to the evidence that indicates the prohibition of praying towards the grave. Meaning having the grave in your what? In the Qibla direction, such that you pray towards it. It's not permissible in Islam. It's haram. It's not just haram. Some of the scholars are of the opinion that the prayer is invalid. Anybody who prays towards the grave intentionally, such person does not have that prayer. So he has to go and repeat what? The prayer. Why? Because of the prohibition that came from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said, "La tusallu ila al-qubur wa la tajlisu alayha." Do not pray towards the grave and do not sit on the grave. But this particular expression from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is prohibition, and there is a legal maxim that actually establish that any prohibition that comes from the Prophet sallallahu or Allah by default indicate that that thing is haram. Even though the scholars differ as to whether haram indicate invalidation or not. Whether haram indicate what? Invalidation or not. Do we understand? Some of the scholars said if the prohibition is attached to salat or is attached to that particular thing, then that thing becomes invalid. But if the prohibition is outside that thing, do we understand? Then that thing is valid, but one has committed what? One has committed sin. The expression "La tusallu ila al-qubur," do not pray towards the grave. This prohibition, is it attached to salat or is outside prayer? Is it inside prayer or is outside prayer? Eh? Our Amir said it's inside prayer. Do we agree with it? Do not pray towards the grave. Is it inside, outside? Can you give us?
You mean the prayer point where you are praying?
Yeah, what I'm trying to establish is that the scholar said if the prohibition is connected to that particular thing, for instance, salat. If the prohibition is connected to salat itself, then doing that prohibition indicates the invalidation of the salat. But if the prohibition is outside the salat, for instance, then the salat is not invalid, but one has committed sin. So the expression "do not pray towards the grave," is it inside prayer? Is this prohibition attached inside the prayer or is outside the prayer? Eh? It's outside the prayer. Please, can we explain?
So when you observe your prayer, criteria you need to observe when you observe your prayer. So do not pray towards the sacred flow, the prayer itself. So
No. Do we agree with him? No. Amir said he decided. Okay. Among God.
So now that that means that means you are doing something outside somebody there, but you're not supposed to
No. 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 Yeah. No.
Well, I said inside the prayer because the prohibition is to those that are praying. And as at the time you are praying and you focus on purpose, they are telling you that don't do that. Meaning that as at the point you are praying, the prohibition is attached to it. But if it's not prayer, if you are walking around now, they didn't say don't move very quick or don't face the qibla. But if you are praying, don't face the qibla. So meaning it is attacking.
No. No. You wanted to say something?
Yes. My own opinion is that from the beginning of the salat to the end, you are facing the Kaaba.
No, but the Kaaba again is in the direction of the Qibla. Do we understand? It's in the direction of the Qibla. So is it inside or outside the prayer? Where are the students of okay, let me not call them again. Is it inside the prayer or is outside the prayer? What is it? It's inside the prayer. Facing the Qibla is one of them. And now you are facing where? You are facing the grave. Why you are being prohibited from facing what? From facing the grave. Allah ayatul hal. Scholars said if the prohibition is inside the prayer, then that prayer becomes what? Invalid. This is why some of the scholars are of the opinion that anybody who prays towards the grave, anybody who prays on top of the grave, anybody who prays in the graveyard, all of them they don't have prayer. Because the Prophet said, "La tusallu ila al-qubur." And also he said, "La'natullahi ala al-yahudi wal nasara. Ittakhadhu qubura anbiya'ihim masajid." He said, "May the curse of Allah be upon the Jews and the Christians." I see someone asking that why. He said, because they took the graves of their prophets as places of worship. They took the graves of their prophets as places of worship. In another riwayah, this particular riwayah, it came in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. In the riwayah of Imam Muslim, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La tattakhidhu al-qubura masajida." He said, وَإِنِّي أَنْهَاكُمْ عَنْ ذَلِكَ أو كما قال. He said, do not take the graves as places of worship. I have forbid you from that. So this shows that anything that is connected, whether it's on top of the grave, whether it's in the graveyard, whether it's the grave is in the front, in the Qibla direction, it's not permissible for us to pray in such place. It is not the nature of the Muslims that they take the graves as what? It is not part of Islam that you take the grave as a place of worship. Because it is the characters. It is among the characters of the Yahud and who? But because of the Qaida, Muslims today have taken some graves as places of worship. The ulama said, if you go to the grave for worship, you observe salat towards the grave, you don't have prayer. You observe salat in the graveyard, you don't have prayer. You observe salat on top of the grave, you build your masjid on top of the grave, you don't have prayer. So if you even go to the graveyard to pray, maybe by the graveyard of one big person, to pray that Allah give me so and so thing, you have committed bidah, you have done bidah. I hope you understand. You go to the graveyard of a big scholar and you say, oh Allah, meaning you are using that grave as a means of what? Seeking blessing. That, oh Allah, but you are not begging the owner of the grave. The one in the grave is not the one you are begging. You are saying, oh Allah, give me so and so thing. You are thinking that because you are standing by the grave of so and so person, you will be granted so and so thing. You have committed bidah. If you now invoke directly the one in the grave, you have committed what? Do we understand it? So these bidah people that used to go and visit graves, occasionally, it's either they fall into shirk or they fall into what? Whichever one they fall into is dangerous. Do we understand? Whether it's bidah, as time goes on, they will fall into shirk. I've told us here that there's this woman that told me that they told her in the town here, I will not mention the name of the place, in the town here, this town here, they told her that she should come, let them open a grave, the grave of one big sheikh for her. Hence, she has not been able to give birth. Let her discuss with sheikh. There's a school here in Lokojaya. Anytime they want to go and write WAEC, they'll open the grave of one sheikh for them. In Lokojaya, they will be tell sheikh, WAEC has come, please. In Lokojaya. Do we understand? Perhaps my is close to you people. May Allah continue to guide them. So, Al-Muhim, it is not permissible to pray towards what? The ulama said, if a masjid is built upon the grave, then that masjid should be demolished. But if it is the grave that comes, if the masjid actually preceded the grave, then the grave should be excavated. Sheikh Basmul actually mentioned this in Sharh Sifat al-Salat. Sheikh said, وَلَا تَجُوزُ الصَّلَاةُ إِلَى الْقُبُورِ مُطْلَقًا. It is not permissible to pray towards the grave completely. سواء كانت قبورا للأنبياء أو غيرهم. It is the same. I want us to underline that word. It is what? The same. Whether they are the graves of the prophets or others. It is not permissible to pray towards what? Whether it's the grave of a prophet, the grave of a messenger, a Rasul, the grave of who? A wali or a saleh. It is haram that you pray towards it. Do we understand this? Now, تحريم المرور بين يدي المصلي ولو في المسجد الحرام. The prohibition of passing the front of a praying person ولو في المسجد الحرام, even if it is a masjid mada. Why? Why did he mention masjid al-haram? Now,
what of in terms of this prayer, there will like some places. This is where the couple is, the fences and everything. Then somebody building his own house. And is there any differences between the particular houses?
Whether they fence it or not, do not pray towards what? Towards the grave. I hope you understand.
Yes.
But again, there is a condition that will make you to pray in the grave. There is a condition that will make you to pray what? In the grave. What condition is that? When you want to do Salatul Mada? You know the Prophet ﷺ did it for that woman that used to take care of what? And he did it where? In the grave. Do we understand? The scholars then said this is an word exception. So if it is janaza prayer, you can do it where? In the grave. But our normal prayer, whether it's nafila or fard prayer, is not permissible. Now, tahrimul murur bayna yaday al-musalli. The prohibition of passing the front of a praying person. Walau fil masjid al-haram, even if it is what? In masjid al-haram. Do you know why he mentioned, he specifically mentioned masjid al-haram? Because of the wideness. Do we understand? And there are some of the scholars who said, if we are to say that people should not pass the front of a praying person in Masjid al-Haram, there will be problem. Some persons might stay there throughout the day. He will not pass. This is why some of the scholars said, no, in such case, you can actually what? You can pass. Because of the difficulty of what? That the position you find yourself. Because if you say they should not pass, some persons will not live there till the next day. I hope you understand. This is why some scholars, as Sheikh Ruhaili mentioned, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, gave fatwa that in such situation you can what? You can pass. Now, وَلَا يَجُوزُ الْمُرُورُ بَيْنَ يَدَيِ الْمُصَلِّ. It is not permissible to pass the front of a praying person إِذَا كَانَ بَيْنَ يَدَيِ sutra, if he has a barrier in front of him. If he has what? A barrier. You know we have discussed about what? Sutra in our last class. So وَلَا فَرْقَ فِي ذَلِكَ بَيْنَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ وَغَيْرِهِ مِنَ الْمَسَاجِدِ. There is no difference regarding that between Masjid al-Haram and other what? Masjid. Meaning there is no difference in terms of prohibition, that it's not permissible for you to pass the front of what? A praying person. Whether that masjid is Masjid al-Haram or is what? Masjid al-Nabi or Masjid al-Quba, any masjid. Do we understand? It is not permissible. Like we have said, some of the scholars said, looking at the wideness, do we understand, of a masjid, one can actually what? Be excused to pass. Wallahu ta'ala alam. فَكُلُّهَا سَوَاءٌ فِي عَدَمِ الْجَوَازِ. All of them are the same in terms of non-what? Permissibility. This is the view of what? Al-Albani. لِعُمُومِ قَوْلِهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Because of the generality of the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, لو يعلم المار بين يدي المصلي ماذا عليه لكان أن يكف 40 خيرا له من أن يمر بين يديه. And the one who passes the front of a praying person knows what will be on him of sin. لكان أن يكف 40. Then he would have actually prepared. لكان أن يكف 40. Then for him to wait for 40, خيرا له, would have been better for him من أن يمر بين يديه, that to pass before what? That to pass in front of a praying person. يعني المرور بينه وبين موضع السجود. Meaning that to pass between a person and the position of what? Is sujood. That's why the scholar said, if where you are passing is far from the position of the sujood, there's no problem. Do we understand? Because the explanation is that al-murura bayna wa bayna mawdi'i mada. So if he is there, you are here, there's no what? There's no problem. So here, this 40, some of the scholars, in fact, majority of the scholars say what is close. Because the reporter said whether it is 40 days or 40 months or 40 years, he could not actually report. But the scholars say what is closer is that it's 40 years. For you to wait for 40 years, but standing is better than for you to pass the front of you. This to tell us the gravity of the sin of passing what? The front of a praying person. But the scholar said this particular rule is for who? Is for the imam and the individual. It's for the imam and who? The individual. As for the ma'mum, there is no problem. I hope you can pass, even though the scholar said it should be under compelling necessity. It shouldn't be just like that, because it's permissible we just go and pass the front of what? La. It should be that there is no any other route or road for you to follow. If you thank you. If you have option, take that option instead of passing the front of who? A praying person, the follower of an imam. Do we understand that? Now, وجوب منع المصلي للمار بين يديه ولو في مسجد الحرام ولو في المسجد الحرام. The prohibition, the obligation of the praying person prohibiting. Do we understand? The obligation of the prohibition of the praying person against limar ribayna yaday, one that is trying to pass what? His front. Walau fil masjid al-haram, even if he is praying where? Masjid al-haram. And somebody wants to pass, he should what? But we have said that some of the scholars, the muhakkikun, this is how Sheikh Ruhaili described it. He said, in Masjid al-Haram, there is no what? There is no problem. But Al-Albani is of the opinion that what? Even if it is Masjid al-Haram, don't pass the front of a person. If somebody is trying to pass your front, even in Masjid al-Haram, what do? وَلَا يَجُوزُ لِلْمُصَلِّي إِلَى sutra. It is not permissible for one that is praying towards a barrier and يَدَعَ أَحْدًا, to allow anyone يَمُرُّ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, to pass what? In front of him. Meaning in front of where? Is sutra kena. Lil hadith is sabiq, because of the previous hadith which we read in our last class. وَلَا تَدَعَ أَحَدًا, do not allow anyone. أَحَدًا here, this is an-nakiratu fi siyaq an-nahy tufidu madha? Al-umum. Meaning whether that person is your father kena. Are we together? Don't allow him. وَلَا تَدَعَ أَحَدًا يَمُرُّ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, do not allow anyone to pass what? In front of you. Meaning in front of your what? Your sutra. So based on this hadith, Al-Albani said, don't allow, is wajib, because the expression used by the Prophet ﷺ here is that of what? Prohibition. So that means if you allow somebody to pass your front, you have committed what? Sin. You have to block the person. So according to Al-Albani now and other scholars, putting sutra is wajib, which we established in our last class that what is closer to the truth, Allah Alam, is that it's not wajib. Preventing someone from passing your front again is what? Is wajib. I hope you are getting the concept. Do not allow anyone. This one is wajib because the Prophet stressed on it. Even if it is a child or animal, the Prophet will never allow the Prophet, there was a time he was praying. Do we understand? A goat was trying to pass in the front of what? His sutra. The Prophet was using the wall as a sutra. He stepped forward to the sutra, so that his belly was actually touching what? The wall. In order for the goat to pass what? Behind him. Instead of what? Passing the sutra. So this is to tell you the importance or how great it is in Islam, or the status of not allowing anything to pass what? Your sutra. Fahimna? وقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, and the statement of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, إذا صلى أحدكم إلى شيء يستره من الناس, if any one of you prays towards anything that screens him from people, فأراد أحد أن يجتاز, and someone wants to pass بين يديه, in front of him, فليدفع في نحره, then let him repel him by pushing him on the wall, on the chest. Let him stop him by pushing him on where? On the chest, slightly. وَلْيَدْرَعَ مَسْتَطَاعَ, let him repel him to the best of what? His ability. The scholar said the first repelling should be in a soft manner, in a soft way. Do you understand? As he's trying to pass, you just actually block him softly. If he now became dog-headed and tenacious, such that he still want to pass, so that's when you now what? You now use force to what? To push him. In another riwayah, فَلْيَمْنَعْهُ مَرَّتَيْنِ, let him prevent him how many times? Let him repel him 2 times. The first one should be soft, while the second one should be what? Strong and hard. For in Abba, if he refused, meaning if he refused the first one, You know, in another way I said 2 times. So if you have done the first one and he refused, فَلْيُقَاتِلْهُ. This is فعل مضارع مقرون بلام الأمر يدل على الوجوب. فَلْيُقَاتِلْهُ. This is an instruction. Prophet said then, let him what? What's the meaning of yuqatilu? Should fight him. La. It is Zahiriya that translated it as what? To fight him. You know the Zahiri? Their madhab is that if he refuses, waya, kashigadembele shikawa. But the scholar said what it means is فَلْيَدْفَعْهُ. Let him actually what? Repel him by way of what? Pushing him. But this time around, فَلْيَدْفَعْهُ بِقُوَّةٍ. Let him push him with what? With force. Do we understand? فَإِنَّمَا هُوَ شَيْطَانٌ. For verily, is he shaitan? Because of other riwayat that came. You know, hadiths also translate each other. Do we know that? فَإِنَّمَا هُوَ الشَّيْطَانِ أي يعني الشيطان معه. Meaning shaitan is with him. I hope you are getting it. It is shaitan that is pushing him to be dog-headed. But by the time you push him, that shaitan will go off him, inshallah. May Allah continue to guide us. المشي إلى الأمام لمنع المرور. Moving forward to prevent someone passing. Not only someone, to prevent anything that is trying to pass your what? Your sutra. فهمنا؟ ويجوز أن يتقدم خطوة أو أكثر. It is permissible for a praying person to take a step أو أكثر or more forward. It is permissible for a praying person to take a step or more forward. For what? ليمنع غير مكلف من المرور. You can see that? In order to prevent غير مكلف, that one that is not charged, the one that is not entrusted with any responsibility, the one that is not entrusted with realistic responsibility. That's the meaning of mukallaf. But we used to translate it as what? Thank you. Matured and sane person. You can still translate it like that. In order to prevent one that is not matured and sane, do we understand? Min al mururi bayna yaday, from passing what? His front. Kadabba, like what? Animal. If you try to stop, if you stop animal, will it stop? It will not stop, right? Our tiflin, or a small child. If you stop a small child, he will even be playing with you, you'll be laughing. I hope you understand. So the only way you can stop that small child is by stepping forward, so that he can pass what? The only way you can stop that dangerous animal is by what? Stepping forward, so that he can pass by him. Hatta yamurra min wara'ihi, so that what? He will pass behind him. The Prophet ﷺ did that, like we said, as we have said, as we have mentioned. I think this particular portion is understood. So, if, for instance, now, this is your sutra, do we understand? This is your sutra, and a child is coming. You notice that this child will definitely pass your front. What do? You step forward to the sutra, so that you stand, at the same level with what? The sutra. Do we understand? In order for the child to follow what? Behind you, or for the animal to follow behind you. Do we understand? Now. في أي مكان؟
المشي إلى الأمام.
نعم إلى
الأمام.
أين هو؟ أيوة إلى الأمام. الأمام بمعنى front. عندنا أمام، وراء، جانبين، وماذا؟ فوق وتحت. فهمت الآن؟
نعم.
واضح؟ طيب. وعليكم السلام.
Like some of those persons that used to carry their child, their child used to pass through their front during prayer. What will you say about that?
Those one, they should nurture the children such that they will stand in the soft. That's part of the reasons why they are bringing the children to the masjid. Not for them to just come and be what? Playing. They should teach them how to observe what? Prayer. They should tell them that when in this mosque we don't pray, we don't play. Masjid is the house of Allah. It's where we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whenever we come to the masjid, let's stand on the wall. On the road, because we want to discuss with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What about this toddler? Sometimes
when you are praying, just as you see to advance when you see their body. Sometimes those children, like especially those toddler, you can't even know when they're just going to pass your front.
But
When you are constantly just praying, you know, children.
that's why, by default, we are not instructed to take children to the masjid until they are how many years? 19 years. How many years? 7 years. You know, 7 inshallah, to some extent you will be able to what? You go to control. Please let us take note of this. But those small children that used to pass your front, you are a follower of who? Of Imam. It doesn't affect your prayer. Even though you should try to nurture them, teach them how to pray. Don't just allow them to be what? To be passing like that. No.
What happens in a situation like the snake
Tom, if you see if you see snake, will you be able to step forward or step back? If you see snake, will you step forward or you step back? My brother, I want to believe that majority of us will leave the prayer. Majority of us will leave the prayer. Especially in this traditional area. Some persons might even be thinking that it's like they send this may Allah continue to guide us. Now, Ma yaqta'u salah. What breaks prayer? What breaks prayer? You know, if I ask us now that what breaks prayer, somebody will say when you pollute. We are not looking at it from this perspective yet. The way this one is from another perspective. وَإِنَّ مِنْ أَهْمِيَّةِ السُّتْرَةِ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. Verily, part of the importance of taking sutra, barrier, in prayer, أنها تحول بين المصلي إليها وبين إفساد الصلاة بالمرور, is that it stands between the one that is praying towards it and that which will invalidate what is prayer, بالمرور بين يديه, by way of passing what his front. So if you have sutra now, anything that passes behind your sutra, it doesn't affect you. If you don't have sutra, so you are in trouble. Do we understand? Sheikh said, بِخِلَافِ الَّذِي لَمْ يَتَّخِذْهَا, which is contrary to one who has not taken what? Sutra. Or who do not take sutra. فَإِنَّهُ يَقْطَعُ صَلَاتَهُ إِذَا مَرَّتْ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. His prayer, he will nullify his prayer. إِذَا مَرَّتْ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ الْمَرْأَةِ, if a woman passes in front of him. Do we understand? He does not have sutra. And a matured girl, when they say woman here, they're referring to that woman that is what? That has started menstruating. If for instance, this is my where I'm standing, and this is where I'm placing my head. A lady now pass here. My prayer has become what? I have to start that prayer again. But is it my prayer alone that becomes invalid, or including my ablution? My ablution is intact. So I will have to restart that prayer what? Afresh. But if I have sutra here, and she passed behind the sutra, what happened to my prayer? Nothing. My prayer is intact. So you cannot see that sutra stand between a praying person and what will invalidate what? His prayer. Do we understand? وَكَذَلِكَ الْحِمَارِ, likewise donkey. If donkey pass your front like this without sutra, that prayer has become what? Invalid. You have to start afresh. وَالْكَلْبُ الْأَسْوَدُ, a black dog. Black dog. If black dog also pass your front, that prayer becomes what? Invalid. Do we understand? Not all dogs are black dog. If you don't have what? Sutra. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. In the hadith of Abu Dhar, Al-Imam Muslim reported that hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you have like the back of the saddle of camel in front of you as a sutra, whatever passes behind it does not affect you. But if you don't have, then he said a matured woman, donkey, and camel, black dog, if any of them passes your front, then your prayer becomes what? That's what the Prophet said. So when he was asked, the same question you asked, the reporter of the hadith said he asked the Prophet. The Prophet said, is shaitan. Kalbul Aswad is what? Is shaitan. The scholars then say, is either shaitan is with Kalbul Aswad, or Kalbul Aswad itself is what? A shaitan. I hope you understand that. Now, but some of the scholars are of the opinion that this cutting of prayer that the Prophet ﷺ said, it does not mean that your prayer becomes invalid. Imam Malik and also Al-Thawri and others were of the opinion, they died upon the opinion that what they mean by it will break your prayer is that it will reduce the reward of your word, your prayer. While some of the scholars said, no, we'll take it the way it came. We'll take it the way it came. It breaks a person's prayer, meaning the prayers become what? Invalid. As such, a person should take what? Sutra. Now, an-niyya, intention. This is also very important. The ulama said intention is divided into two. We have niyyatul amal and niyyatul ma'muli lahu. Niyyatul amal and niyyatul ma'muli lah. The intention of the action. Now you want to pray. You must intend that this prayer you want to pray is Zuru prayer. This prayer that I want to pray is what? Asri prayer. This prayer that I want to pray, Maghrib. This prayer is Isha. This one is what? So you must do that. That's niyyatul mada al-amal. Then the second one, niyyatul ma'amuli lah. Who are you praying to? Who are you praying to? You must also intend that you are praying this Zuru prayer to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the two conditions in what? Intention. Do we understand? So this intention, are we going to say now way to an usalliya al-dhuhra arba' raka'atin hadiran ma'al imam? Are we going, or like the way they used to say it, ta'buda lillahi ta'ala? Are we going to say that one?
No.
La. There's nothing like that. If you express intention on your tongue, you have committed what? Bid'ah. They reported, the Sahabas, the companions, they reported the prayer, the salat of the Prophet. None of them actually reported the Prophet after before Takbirat Ihram, he said what? Not to other prayer, salat subuh. Iqtida bil iman. Do we understand? No even weak report came that the companions too, they did that. فَكُلُّ خَيْرٍ فِي اتِّبَاعِ مَنْ سَلَفَ وَكُلُّ شَرٍّ فِي ابْتِدَاعِ مَنْ خَلَفَ. So as the companion did not do, the Prophet ﷺ did not do. In fact, all the A'immatul Arba'a, the four Imams that we know, they unanimously agree that uttering intention on the tongue is bid'ah. Except some later followers of the Hanafiya Madhab and the Shafi'iyya Madhab. But the A'immatul Arba'a themselves, they agreed that uttering intention on the tongue is what? Where did you get it from? قُلْ أَتُعَلِّمُونَ اللَّهَ بِدِينِكُمْ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Do we understand? So you don't need to tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is required from you is where? The solution. It should be in your heart. Do we understand? And this intention, when do we take it? You know, what we used to know is that if you perform ablution, it suffices. So, when you get to the masjid, just say what? Allah. But the scholars say what is better is that intention should be accompanied with takbiratul ihram. So just before you say your takbiratul ihram, that's when you make what? Your intention. But not on the tongue. You resolute in your what? If you say you want to make your intention from your house, from your house to the masjid, a lot of things might happen. Do we understand? So the amount of intention, you might even forget it. So that's why the scholars said it's better that you take the intention just before what? Takbiratul al-ihram. So as you are just finishing your intention, you are entering what? Takbiratul al-ihram. I hope we understand this. Now,
in this very particular intention we are talking about, some of us were sometimes when we are discussing this in the place where we are taking this thing. Some people said, some scholars said, immediately you have finished your ablution, then the intention is being taken. You are going to only do it up to that.
yes.
But with this, some of us disagree with it because of this. So in this case, As we came to the masjid, we wanted to pray with the imam. Then we take our before the takbiratul ihram, we said our intention before in the mind before we did this. What those people said? If immediately you finish your ablution, you are coming to the then you take intention from where the what if anything happened to all is not accompanied with this.
Now, you know, this masala, like I said, the scholars differ. I just mentioned that there are some of the scholars who have the opinion that it suffices you. When you perform, of course, what made you to perform ablution? It's salat time. You want to go and pray. And that suffices as your intention. But what we are saying is that the scholars say what is best is that what? The intention should be accompanied with what? Because there are a lot of things that might come your way as you are going to where? To the masjid. Wallahu ta'ala alam. So a person should stick to this. Now, وَلَا بُدَّ لِلْمُسَلِّمِ أَنْ يَنْوِيَ الصَّلَاةِ. It is a must for a praying person to intend the prayer that he wants to pray. التي قام إليها, which he is going to observe. وتعيين وماذا؟ يعني وماذا؟
وتعيينها بقلبه.
وتعيينها بقلبه. Do you understand? وتعيينها بقلبه, and to what?
That means should be fatal.
Yes. To specify it with his word, with his heart.
No.
To specify, meaning is Zuru prayer, is Asri prayer, is what? Maghrib prayer and order. The Farid Dhuhr, like the obligation of what? Zuhr. Now I want to observe Zuhr prayer. It should be in his mind that he wants to discharge what? The obligation of what? Zuhr. أو العصر or عصر أو سنتهما مثلا, or their sunnah, for instance. Meaning if it is sunnah, meaning the what do you call it? Ratib, that he wants to observe, it should also what? Bring it to his mind. وهو شرط أو ركن. It is a condition or what? If you look at it from the aspect that this niyyah is before takbirat ihram, you say it's short. Because short is that which is outside prayer. If you look at it that this niyyah must accompany the prayer from the beginning to the end, you say it's what? This rukun, because it has now become inside way. I hope you understand this. وأما التلفظ بها بلسانه فبدعة مخالفة للسنة. As for expressing it on the tongue, with his tongue, as for him expressing it with his tongue, forbidden, it is what? Innovation. So when they say something is innovation, what do you think about that thing? Good. Mukhalifatun is sunnah, is contrary to the sunnah. So if something is contrary to the sunnah, what happened to it? من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو ماذا؟ ولم يقل بها أحد من متبوع المقلدين من الأئمة. The scholar said, no one has actually upheld. This was not actually upheld by any of the imams followed. Do we understand? By the followers. This was not actually upheld. وَلَمْ يَكُلْ بِهَا أَحَدٌ. No one مِنْ مَتْبُوعِ الْمُقَلَّدِينَ مِنَ الْإِمَامِ. No one among the imams that are followed. Do we understand? By those who follow them. Muqallid means blind followers. But here is those who follow what? The imam. Who is a muqallid? A muqallid is somebody that follows imam. He doesn't care about the evidence. Do you understand? As long as it's this imam that said it, he follows. So no one among this imam that people follow, none of them actually said that you should utter intention on your word, on your tongue. As such, uttering intention on your tongue has no what? Good, has no basis. Don't say, no, my grandfather, this is what I met my grandfather do. That's not your religion. Your religion is what? قال الله فهمنا. Now, we take the final portion. Is that it time? At-takbir, saying Allahu Akbar. Saying Allahu Akbar. That is takbiratu mada? al-ihram. ثم يستفتح الصلاة بقوله. Then he should begin his prayer with his statement, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Don't say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. That one is a question. Is Allah great? Allahu Akbar. Akbar means band. A'udhu billah. What about Allahu Akbar? Ustaz, sit down and look at that. But we can say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Can we say that? No. Oh, they mean say if you say Allahu Akbar, it doesn't invalidate the takbir. Then we understand. But what we are supposed to say, what the Prophet said is Allahu Akbar. Please let us take note of this. It's very important. Or ruknun, it is a pillar. This is takbiratul ihram. In fact, if you not say takbiratul ihram, you have not started a prayer. So this is where we know that many people are not praying today. Especially those who are those who meet imam in where? Ruku or sujud. You know, as they are just coming, Allahu Akbar. They don't have prayer. You must say takbiratul ihram. When do you say takbiratul ihram? While what? لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, because of the statement of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, مفتاح الصلاة الماذا? The key to prayer is purification. Which purification? Ablution. What about if somebody urinate? Can you just perform ablution and it suffice? So purification is what? Purification. But we should know that ablution too is part of what? وَتَحْرِيمُهَا التَّكْبِيرُ. And that which makes what is outside it forbidden is what? So once you have said takbiratul ihram, so anything that is outside prayer, you cannot say it again. That's why the imam, after your iqamah, they will turn and face you, they will say, Sawu, Sufufakum. But after takbiratul ihram, they can't do that. Do we understand? وَتَحْلِيلُهَا التَّسْلِيمُ. That which makes what is not permissible in it permissible is what? Salama. Fahimna? وَلَا يَرْفَعُ صَوْتَهُ بِالتَّكْبِيرِ فِي كُلِّ الصَّلَوَاتِ. He should not raise his voice in saying takbir all through the prayers. إِلَّا إِذَا كَانَ إِمَامًا, except if he is what? Imam. But if he is a follower or he is an individual, he should only say the takbir to his hearing. Ibn Taymiyyah said that لا يشرع الجهر بالتكبير خلف الإمام لغير حاجة باتفاق العلماء. He said the scholars unanimously agree that it's not legislated for a person to be shouting takbir behind who? The imam, except under what? Necessity. Meaning if the imam's voice is not what? Loud, or the imam is sick, for him, or there is crowd, so that they cannot hear the imam, so he can echo the what? The takbir. Do we understand? ويجوز تبليغ المؤذن تكبير الإمام إلى الناس. It is permissible for the muazzin to convey the takbir of imam to the people. Under what? إذا وجد المقتضى إذا وجد المقتضى لذلك. If the need for that is found. If the need for that is what? Is found. Meaning if the, like yani كمرض الإمام, like if the imam is what? Is sick. وضعف صوته, or his voice is what? Is weak. أو كثرة المصلين خلفه, or there are numerous persons praying behind him. So in this case there is no problem. Do we understand?
No. You said is that wujida?
Yes, is that wujida. Do we understand this?
No.
In fact, among the Malikiya scholars, there are those who are of the opinion that if you even say takbir behind imam, when there is no necessity, that prayer has become invalid. Do we understand? If you say takbir behind imam without any necessity, people can hear the voice of the imam. Imam is using microphone. You too, you are using microphone. So some of the Malikiya scholars have the opinion that you don't even have that prayer. For him now, that's not sunnah. What is sunnah is that what? You don't shout, you don't repeat the takbir after the imam. So that what? You'll be echoing what? The takbir of the imam. The Prophet ﷺ, it was when he was sick that Abu Bakr what? Abu Bakr did that. وَلَا يُكَبِّرُ الْمَعْمُومُ إِلَّا عَقِبَ انْتِهَاءِ الْإِمَامِ مِنَ التَّكْبِيرِ. Very important again. The follower should not say takbir except at the end of the takbir of who? The imam. So takbiratul ihram, some of us we say it simultaneously with the imam. As the imam will say Allahu Akbar, we are saying what? La. The imam must finish Allahu Akbar before we say what? Because of the hadith, innama ju'ila al-imamu liyutamma bihi. The imam is what? Is placed in our front to be what? To be followed. So it is after the imam has done that we will do what? We don't say along with the word imam. We don't say before who? The imam. But we say after the imam. It's very what? Important. Inshallah ta'ala. We are going to stop here. Whatever I've said that is wrong, may Allah forgive me. Whatever I've said that is correct, may Allah reward all of us abundantly. هذا والله الموفق والهادي إلى سواء السبيل. وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.